the SSE show. We've been on business since November. Had Olympic agents, athletes. We've had NBA players, NFL. We've had sports agents, CMOs, and now we're switching to another gear, a fast gear. Hold on, because this is NASCAR, folks. Probably the most passionate fans in sports that I've ever dealt with in my 20-year career. We're going to be talking with Greg Walter, and we're talking with Brad Harrison from Atlanta Speedway, and fans of NASCAR. Pay attention, because these guys know their stuff. Let's start with Greg. I appreciate you being on the show, by the way.
Looks like you might have locked up.
That is a lockup.
Yep.
We'll go to pit crew. We'll go to the pit crew. His car's in the pit crew. So Brad Harrison, we'll get him back on. He'll pop back on, no problem. Brad, tell us a little bit about how you guys, I mean, you obviously want to market NASCAR. You want to market the sport, but you also want to market the Speedway. How do you guys do that?
Well,
look at Greg. Hey, Greg, we put you in the pit stop for a second.
Let Greg handle that one.
Hey, Greg, we put you in the pit stop for a second.
What's that?
Hey, we put you in pit stop for a second. So now we're getting your tires back, and now you're ready to roll. That's awesome. You're ready. So basically, that's live. We love this stuff. So the question was, probably one of the most passionate fans out there. You got the NFL. Hey, let's face it, they're the premier sport out there. But NASCAR is really making a move. You guys have, in the last decade, become one of the most popular sports out there, and you have the most fanatical fans. Why is that, and how do you market to that?
You know, why is that? It's got the ingredient that every fan wants, and that is you've got, anybody can drive a car fast. We've probably all done it, and many of us won't admit how fast we've gone, but anybody can drive a car fast. It's funny, Chris, when you talk about the fans, I've worked around every sport except Major League Baseball. And this is the only sport that I've seen that really translates to a lifestyle. I left the track on Friday, and there were people who had already lined up to start camping for the race next weekend. It is the only place where I've seen the fans have as much passion for the antithetical, where you'll see the logo of a little boy urinating on a Ford logo or a Chevy logo, depending on whatever the choice is. And they'll be just as passionate about hating someone as they would enjoying it. So you try to find that, like any sport, you try to find that common denominator where, what is going to appeal to them. Obviously, the storylines coming out of Bristol or something. We start talking about Tony Stewart and Kenseth and the Chase and all those things that appeal. We've also storylines for this coming weekend. It's 20 years after that great race where you had Richard Petty's last race, you had Jeff Gordon's first race, you had one of the closest races ever between Alan Kulwicki and Bill Elliott, where Kulwicki actually won the championship that year by just the slimmest of margins. And actually, of course, he died the next year in a plane crash at one of Bristol. So it's just all the storylines, and everyone loves a good story. I think we got a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree with that. And I love something you just said, okay? There's no other sport out there, okay? NBA, NFL, even college football, they tailgate, but they tailgate the day of. That's wimpy, man. You guys show up on a Monday, and you stay for a full week. I'm blown away by that.
It's a Grateful Dead concert out there.
I just think that is so cool.
It's a great, I'll tell you, we have this area called unreserved camping, where most of the campgrounds are reserved. But there's a section where it's kind of like the Great Land Rush, where we open the gates on the Saturday prior to the race weekend, and we say, "Boys, have at it. Pick out your ground."
Now that's 7 days before an event.
Yeah, I know, absolutely, and they're partying like rock stars already. So the circus has come to town, if you will. So it's a big time.
I've been to a lot. I've been covering it since 1995. Loved it. It really surprised me when I did it. What other sport allows the fans to sleep in the stadium for a week while the event takes place around them? Have you ever done it? Have you ever slept in the infield?
I have. It was the worst night's sleep I ever had in my life. I've only done it once. Won't ever do it. Won't ever do it again. We had a function that went late, and I had to be back at the track by 4 a.m. So I was like, I'll just stay here. And it just everyone's having a great time. It's just one big party. And you have 15,000 campers out there. Some in the infield, some on the outside, and for many, this is their one vacation. This is the one thing they'll do this year. They'll save all year to come out to go to the race. We have people from all 50 states, and I think the last check I had on Thursday was 12 foreign countries coming to this race weekend.
Wow. 12 foreign countries. That's impressive. Coming to Atlanta.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's
We're
awesome.
excited about that. Yeah, Hartsfield makes it easy for us. You know, you can get just about anywhere in the country in less than 4 hours, and with all the international flights,
Right.
you have lots of people.
Okay. All right. We got a question. We're going to open up to the fans, and then anybody tweeting as well. We get about 300,000 impressions on Twitter, so we'll have a lot of questions from there as well. Anthony, you got a question?
Hi, Greg. To speak to the week long of tailgating that you have there, with all the violence that's happened at the NFL games last year, how do you and the Speedway keep the security? How do you keep it from not going to the dogs?
Yeah, sure. That's a fair question. 2 ways. Number one is it's a pretty heavy law enforcement presence. Starting when the campers show up, there is a pretty heavy. We have a command post. We have a pretty large law enforcement staff that we contract with. The second one, probably the most important thing, is that a lot of these people have been camping in the same spaces for years. So we have campground mayors, individuals who are responsible for each of the individual campgrounds. So they develop a sense of community. So if something starts to get out of hand, that campground mayor will probably go over to individuals, hey, look, guys, you're going to ruin it for everyone else. And I think everyone in the NASCAR community, the NASCAR fans, realize, if I mess this up for my group, it's going to have pretty far impact. So in many respects, it's pretty self-policing. Okay,
you do sales for Atlanta Speedway. NASCAR fans are so passionate. You got a cush job, man. How did you get that job? Your tickets sell themselves, man. What are you talking about?
Don't tell my boss that. He's going to raise my budgets.
But y'all are sold out? Are you sold out for the event?
No, we're not sold out yet.
Okay, so people can still get tickets?
Absolutely. For 3 days of racing, we have Friday, we have the Jeff Foxworthy Grit Chips 200, which is a Camping World Truck Series race. We have on Saturday, we have the NRA American Warrior 300, which is the nationwide race. And then on Sundays, the Advocare 500, which is the main show. We precede that with a concert from Montgomery Gentry. It's brought to you by Bad Boy Buggies.
Way to throw out the sponsors. I know you guys do that, and I love it. Hey,
you got to hold my Coca-Cola up here so you guys can see.
That's awesome, man. Hey, that's NASCAR. You know what would be really cool? I mean, during the week of when it's kind of slow, when y'all are bringing people in the press room and stuff, and that's what I used to do. Tuesday you come in and all that. There was really no opportunity to market outside. You guys had to rely on old media, whether it was radio, newspaper, TV. It seems now that you could be your own media. We could almost do, and this is, I'm going to throw you a bone here, on a Tuesday afternoon. You could throw a Hangout. We'll host it. And you could bring some, like a driver coming off, and we can host it with fans. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, kind of a build-up thing. But what's cool about that is you can control your own media. Have you guys utilized social media? How are you doing it? And is it exciting that you can do some of that?
Actually, Brad, who's on your panel, is our social media ninja. Brad's done a really good job for overlaying the social media onto the experience itself. Chris, one of the fun things I've seen actually in our sport lately is where you'll watch the race. Like last night, a better example is Daytona. When Daytona got rain delayed to Monday, to watch the Twitter feed and to all the commentary, there was almost like a sideshow going on to the broadcast. During the race itself, why we hired someone full-time to handle our social media was...
Brilliant, by the way. It's brilliant.
Well, thank you. And we Brad does a great job for us because he's done an excellent job of building community. And I'll give him a hats off. It's one of the things that we fall into in sports is making every post, every communication a selling proposition. And I think what we've learned is that we've got to build a sense of community before we have credibility to ask someone or make that offer.
The selling cycle is trust.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And to Brad's credit, I remember watching, Brad reports to me, and I remember watching the social media and the Facebook thing, and Brad posted, "Hey, it's Elmo's 40th birthday." And I'm like, "What?" So I called Brad. I was like, "Brad, why did you post that?" Well, no sooner did we start a conversation did we have 75 likes. And I'm like, "Wait a minute, I take that back, Brad.
Yeah, we love Elmo. Love Elmo. I think you should put Elmo in a freaking NASCAR car and just freaking drive around the track.
Exactly.
That would be an awesome sell. Brad, what about you? My question now to you is, you are becoming your own media. What are you trying to do to interact? You've done a great job with us. You put your name out there. We know. No offense to you guys, I would never pay attention to Atlanta Speedway. Now I am. I'm promoting you guys at no cost. You better send me something. I'm kidding. But you guys, he got in here, and he's built my trust, so I let him come on, and he invited you, and now you've got a platform. What else are you doing in this space, Brad? Give me some examples of some things you're doing.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is just engaging our fans 24/7. I know, especially this time of year, fans really see your social media site as Google. They don't. I mean, it's to the point where they don't go to your website; they go to your Google site. So you name it, they ask, and they really don't. And it really doesn't matter to them what time of day it is. They ask info. So the big thing is just really being transparent with your fans when they ask you stuff, and just being, just being transparent and getting them info and just engaging them. And again, to the point earlier, we keep it off topic sometimes. Sometimes we'll say, hey, there's a race tonight. What's everybody cooking out their house to have during the race? Or what's your favorite special? What's your favorite special paint scheme? Now, when we get within about 2 weeks of the race, it does shift more into more event promotion.
Right.
And it's partially because it goes in cycle. Somebody may be a fan of your page, but odds are they may be a fan of the page, but they may not even tune you in until 3 weeks out. I know we had a fan event, I remember a few years ago, that we promoted ad nauseum, and even so, we had fans said that I've been camping here since Wednesday. How come we didn't hear about this? So, fans, it's just they're coming to you for information. The key is just not let there be a void. You have to have content for them. That could be having a photo for them to share or not. One big thing we've done is for each, since we've been 50 days from race weekend, each day we posted a photo and tied it into race weekend. So sometimes it's been of a random stat from a race in the past, and other times it's been of a driver number. So fans have had fun with that. We've gotten on average a pretty good number of likes and interactions with that, which is huge. And it's also to a point where we've had fans disagree with the driver we picked to represent that number. So they've gotten involved in it. It's been a fun interaction and engagement.
Awesome. All right, next question from fan. Dom, you're up.
All right. You guys kind of touched on a little bit earlier, Greg, about Kenseth and Stewart and how you can work on marketing that. How much emphasis do you guys put on marketing on the nationwide race compared to the Sprint Cup race?
That's a great question. The nationwide is one of those events, Tom, where we try to make it in the grocery business doing a loss leader, and that is a sense that it's a chance for families to try it in an economical way. We'll make it's kids 12 and younger free, so a dad can bring the entire baseball team, Girl Scout troop, a church group, whatever else, to try racing for the first time without being a major investment. So we'll do things with the schools, the Boy Scouts. Most of it's very viral and grassroots. Most of it's trying to influence a circles of a sphere of influence, to say that's less than 75 to 80 miles out. That's who we're trying to build our new fan base, is to try to have a great experience between the parent who introduces the sport to a child. All the NASCAR studies talk about that's how anyone became a fan, was someone introduced them to it. So if we can create a positive experience through one of our ancillary series, we think that's the way to go with that. Our bread and butter is Sunday. I mean, everyone looks to Sunday. You've got great storylines in the Truck Series, Nationwide Series, Friday and Saturday. But from a fan standpoint, we're trying to introduce it to people who may not try it. We'll have all sorts of shtick and fun. The race on Saturday was actually, we partnered with the NRA to highlight the American Warrior in the Life of Duty magazine. So this was actually focused on men and women in the service. So there was a free ticket component to them to try to bring them out as a thank you for their involvement in the military. So to your point, we use Friday and Saturday as vehicles to kind of fill our funnel for fans who are going to be Sunday a year, 2 or 3 down the road.
And what I love about NASCAR, I mean, what makes it probably easier for you guys, I don't want to say any job's easy, but, there are sports where these athletes, I mean, I had to interview them for years, and it's really difficult because they're really focused on what they're doing. They don't have time to mess around. But NASCAR does a great job, and these drivers are really accessible. And they make it, and now with social media, they're even more accessible to fans. How does that help you when they're more receptive to trying stuff, to being, okay, I'll go do this to promote the race, I'll go do this to promote the track? And do you have any specific examples of some stories in the past that you're like, wow, that was cool that guy did that? So give me some examples.
Yeah, sure. We've had the social media component where we can say, for instance, this last week, Jeff Gordon, he won the Advocare 500 last year. It's also his 20th anniversary of getting into NASCAR. So this past week, actually, we had Jeff in town, and he tweeted about being in Atlanta. We took him down to Georgia Aquarium. We staged a race between 2 dolphins, a day at Emmy. So we did the publicity shtick that worked out pretty well. When you can get, say, Tony Stewart to talk about, we've got a young lady who's going to be on, Chelsea Bain's going to be on one of our stages. Tony is friends with the family, so Tony tweets out, hey, going to see Chelsea Bain at 3 o'clock on Sunday. Hope to see you there. Well, that goes out to a whole nation of people. So there's a lot of cross-pollination. There's a lot of opportunity to communicate this segment to this segment to this segment that may not hear us in the chatter or the immense amount of communication that's out there for any race weekend or any event for that say. It's helped us a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I don't see in other sports, so it's a kudos to them, and they get it. And I think a lot of it has to do with, hey, that how they get paid. Let's face it, they get paid by sponsorships, where the other leagues get paid by the owners. So they don't feel like they have to market because they're already getting paid by the owners. But these guys have to be out front for their sponsors, so that's crucial. I think it's a huge element to that. Zach had a question. Zach, go ahead.
Now, with social media being such a huge part of NASCAR in the last few years, what have been your most successful and unsuccessful promos via social media?
Well, that may be a Brad question.
That might be a Brad question.
Well, I can tell you,
let's give Greg some a quick break. He could sip that Coke, get the Coke sponsorship up real quick. Take a quick break. Get your Coke sponsorship up, and then Brad can answer that question. Now keep it up a lot longer. There you go. Yeah, there you go.
I can tell you without fact. I mean,
Greg's getting sponsorships now.
The last couple of years is when we get about 3 months out for the race, we'll have weekly contests on both Facebook and Twitter. And what we do is we promote it on our social networks, but we push everybody to our actual website for entry. And what that does is it pushes them to our website where they'll hopefully buy tickets. But I mean, we'll be in the springtime or whatever, and fans ask, hey, when are you going to start contests up? And what we kind of do with ours is we kind of gear it towards giving the prizing is most of the time it's just experience is better than tickets. I mean, because you can call your radio station and win tickets, but what we'll do is it'll be stuff like, one prize is getting to wave the green flag for a car during qualifying, a garage tour race day, and the ones that really gets people excited is we'll give you a chance to beat in Victory Lane when the race is over with. So when you got everybody celebrating at victory lane, you can be right down in there and everything. So it's just a way for us to, it gets people engaged about about us. It gives them thinking about our weekend. Also gives, it's also a thing to them saying, and we instill that, because you guys are part of our social network, that's the only way you guys have an opportunity to be in on this deal. So that's the biggest thing promotionally probably we do leading up, and it's just any chance we can to throw.
So what you're saying, it's all about experience. That's the key.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing we play up. We are really playing up with our weekend is that it's more than a race weekend. I mean, it's being here. It's all the fan interaction activities with our fan stage and the sponsor displays, tailgating, camping, everything rolled into one. It's more than a race, and that's the key. It's just playing up the big picture of the whole weekend.
Okay, cool.
Zach,
I want to hear from you, Greg. You said you've worked with other leagues. Give me some examples, some leagues you worked with, and tell me why it's different. Not to dog the other leagues, but just to be fair, just tell me what's different about those leagues and what's different about NASCAR. And tell me some of the leagues so everyone has a background.
Well, Chris, I worked. I was a broadcaster before I got to sell the brick and mortar side of the business here in Atlanta. I got here in '99. Before that, I worked for a family-owned broadcasting company out of North Carolina. We handled NASCAR radio networks. We handled the Carolina Hurricanes television network. Now, I'll tell you what, that's a tough sell, trying to convince Tobacco Road that icing is not something on a cake. That took a little bit of a struggle. But I've worked around the NHL, worked around the NBA when the Hornets came to Charlotte for the first time. And then lots of college sports and the NFL and the Carolina Panthers when they were there. So from a broadcast standpoint, had all the touch points on the various sports. This one is so unique, and then go back to what we're talking about, that it's a lifestyle. You also see it transgenerational in that you'll see the grandparents, you'll see the parents, you'll see the kids. Each pull for different drivers, the grandparents. So I remember when Richard Petty was driving and Cale Yarborough, and I remember that race in Daytona. And the parents may talk about, the Mark Martins and their favorite drivers and Kyle Petty and whoever. And then, my daughter's actually like whoever's cutest. So, it's a Carl Edwards or a Casey Kane or whoever else, that's the top of their chart. So,
and he does backflips.
That's exactly right. So for us, it's just seeing that, and then going out in the campgrounds and seeing all these people out there, and you'll see families getting together. You'll see people who get together once a year in the same place, like the Swallows return to Capistrano. They all come back to Atlanta. They have their little space, and they bond. It's also what's really cool is it also crosses a lot of psychographic and sociodemographic profiles or segments, because I've got one area in the campground where I've got these guys who are Emory professors and doctors camping beside these guys who are,
and they sleep in the infield,
plumbers. That's right. So you've got these segments, but they're all pulling, and then across the street we have this airport. And my friends at the FAA tell me it becomes the second busiest airport in the state behind Hartsfield on Sunday morning. You've got more King Airs and jets over there that you can shake a stick at. So if you walk suite level, you have all these captains of industry there, and then you've got your guys in the infield, camping and partying. It's kind of like the infield, I guess, at Churchill Downs at the Kentucky Derby. But they're all pulling for a Tony Stewart or a Carl Edwards or a Jeff Gordon or a Jimmy Johnson, or pulling against one of those. And that passion I've not seen anywhere else. You would see it maybe in a top 10, top 20 college program.
I totally agree with you on that. I totally agree with you on that.
That's the only place I've ever seen it is Alabama or a Michigan or one of those schools where it's just really, really strong. That kind of thing is where it is. That's the only thing I think that can duplicate it. I really do.
We got 20 more minutes, folks. Greg, can you hang on 20 more minutes? Is that too long? Or?
Sure can.
Okay. So I appreciate that. So I agree with you, and I love that answer. I've been covering sports since '89, Super Bowls, all this stuff, And I'll be honest, I'm a pro football guy. I flew with the Dallas Cowboys, flew with the team, loved it. But the first time I went to a NASCAR event, my station said, "Hey, let's do something different. We're going to put you on the infield on Monday, and you come back Sunday." I'm like, "Well, where am I staying? I've never done NASCAR." "Well, we're going to put you in a Winnebago, and you're going to sleep out there all week and do live reports." I'm like, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard," and I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And I'll tell you what, by the end of that deal, okay, I've covered Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Troy Aikman. I still, to this day, go back to that and say that's some of the best and most interesting stories I've ever done in my entire life. And here's a photo. You ready? I'm going to show you a photo. All right, this is at Daytona 500. All right, watch this. This is nuts. And so I slept in the infield for a week, and like you said, I got no sleep whatsoever. I mean, it was crazy. And these are the kind of pictures I ended up with axes and stuff. Y'all see that? So these are my friends because I hung out with them until 3 a.m. every day, and by the time the race was over, I was beat. I slept for 2 days after this. I didn't sleep for 7 days, but we did stories all the time out there, and they were interesting stories. But, like, they did axe contests and stuff, okay?
Oh, yeah.
You know what axe contests are?
I've never run into that one yet.
Okay. Axe contests are basically you get an axe, and who can chop the wood the best and cut it in half and things like that. So it was nuts. But it was great because the passion in it, I mean, you're there all week, and then you would do these stories on these people, and even to this day, 20 years later, it's like, they're like, "Oh my God, your story on this was so great." And I'm like, "Yeah, the story I did on that football team." They're like, "No, the NASCAR thing." I'm like, "Really? The NASCAR story?" They always talk about that because there's so much passion and stories into it. So I'm on board with you. I love sleeping in the infield. If anybody out there has never done it, I promise try it. It's a really cool experience.
I want to, we talk about the more colorful side of it. One of the things we've also done is start a family campground because we realize that, some of us are older and are parents and have kids, and we don't want to quite be sure that we do want them to get some sleep. So we actually have probably a fairly large family campground on the outside that has, curfew rules. It has
that's
quiet
cool.
hours. Yeah, so you can go and get all the experience you want, or on the other side, you can bring your family out there, feel great, roast marshmallows, whatever it is. And the other thing is, we've marketed to. We've got 2 major college football games, the Kickoff Classic, going on here on Friday and Saturday.
That's
so we've
right.
marketed to all of those schools. Hey, look, if you're going to go to the ball games on Friday or Saturday, why don't you come camp with us and drive downtown and come back and go to the race on Sunday? Got a lot of traction on those kind of offers. So it's great. About 60% of the folks that come to the race come within a 300-mile radius.
Okay.
We've got 4 from Hawaii and 6 from Alaska, and God bless them all that they come to the race. But it's kind of a neat nature. So.
I love what you just said about the Kid Zone thing. I did not realize that. That's a smart thing. You kind of get that out there. I think that's cool.
Yeah, it's done well. It sells out for us. People love it. They love the sense of community again that's out there. And again, talking about these campground mayors who develop relationships and who. You come back every year, and it's the same older couple who are taking care of people. "Oh, great, your kids have grown up so much. It's so good to see you. You guys are going to have a great time. Be sure you go by and do this and do that." And that's kind of where we also integrate those sponsor messages. "Hey, here, Coca-Cola's got this really cool thing going on. You guys need to be sure you go check this out." Or, "Gosh, Jeff Foxworthy is going to be on the stage at this time. You got to be sure you go by and check that out," kind of thing. So, again, all to the experience.
And Coca-Cola is a company based out of Atlanta, correct?
Yes.
I just wanted to confirm
so.
that. Yeah, I think it's a soda pop company in Atlanta, correct? Okay. Just for anybody out there that doesn't know who
Absolutely.
they are. Okay. I just wanted to clear that up. Okay. Coke is going to be loving you tonight.
Sorry.
Dude, Coke is loving you tonight. I'll send them the bill as well. Okay, Dom, you're up.
All right. earlier in
And
the
Greg,
season.
I'll send you clips of this, and you can send to your Coke buddies so you can get a bigger.
Thank you. Thanks.
Dom, you're up.
All right.
Sure.
A couple weeks ago, Dodge has announced they're pulling out of NASCAR for the 2013 season. Army has also made the same statement. Red Bull has done that this previous year. How has that affected things at Atlanta Motor Speedway? How has that affected anything going on at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and how do you think it will affect it in future years?
They have Coke. What do they care?
That's right. We can't have Red Bull. But it's a great question. First of all, the price of entry to the sponsor. Let's talk about the team aspect, if you will. The price of entry to get to buy a primary for the entire season has gone up quite a bit over the last 10 years. So for a company, particularly in these economic conditions, to try to justify an ROI that makes sense for spending, say, $16 to $24 million to be the primary on a top 10, top 5 team, it's tough. And so, for us, if a Dodge leaves or if another company leaves the sport, we've also seen things like Quicken Loans come in. Advocare had never been in the sport until they became our entitlement sponsor. So we see this attrition of people coming and going and being in and out of the sport. Those were just some kind of really big ones. Dodge has gone through some changes with Fiat and their new ownership group. And so they just kind of opted out. I've talked to the Chevy guys, the Ford guys, and the Toyota guys, and they're just entrenching even further. So we hate to see Dodge go. That's kind of your manufacturers are a real cornerstone to what we do. But I think they'll be back one day. I think they will. But we're always filling our funnel. There's always new people to bring into the sport and show them how we do things. We talk about what we do out of the track. We do in one of 3 buckets, and that is if a company wants to get involved, whatever the scale is. So the first thing is a B2B hospitality, and that is increasing their chances to woo their customers or to improve a relationship with a customer. So for instance, we always go up against our brothers and sisters in the other professional leagues, and we say, well, do the Braves allow you to take your customers into the dugout? Well, of course they don't, but we do. It's called the pits. And do the Falcons let you take your customers into their locker room? Well, no, they don't, but we do. It's called the garage, and we do it in hundreds of people every day. We also do our signage, because every one of our events is nationally and internationally televised. We just score off the chart in terms of exposure. So, for instance, this company, Jeff Foxworthy's these grit chips, is a brand new salty snack rolling out in mid-September, and they wanted a ton of exposure very quickly. So we engineered, architected this deal for them, this sponsorship, which has gotten them exactly that. We were with the owners on Friday, and he said, we just never imagined this kind of exposure this fast. And then the last one is just the interactive piece. So you've got these very fan-fervent people out there who just have this immense passion. They say that 72% of the NASCAR fans will tell you that a sponsorship influences a purchase decision. Well, that's incredible. I think the next
I think it's like 80%. I've heard this stat.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so when we coach people on how to do this the right way, there's certain ways to do it and not do it. We tell them how to do it. It really can translate to business and moving the needle. I don't mind getting measured. I don't mind a company saying, here's how I'm going to measure your success, because I know that if we set it up the right way, we're going to deliver. We always do.
Chris, you mentioned the passion of the fans. I mean, there are fans who, if their favorite driver say if you're a Jimmy Johnson fan who drives a Lowe's car, you sure as heck aren't going to go to Home Depot to get your home.
No way.
I mean,
I totally agree. I heard it was 80%. They'll buy 80% from those.
Phenomenal how loyal they are to those sponsors. I mean,
and that's crucial.
Yeah, huge.
Zach, you had a question?
Yeah, I've done some work with New Hampshire Motor Speedway up here, and they host 2 Sprint Cup series a year. I'm not sure how many you guys do, but how do you market the rest of your events throughout the year to be successful and to hype them up as much as the Sprint Cup gets hyped up?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I don't know if you know this, that New Hampshire is our sister track. Our company, Speedway Motorsports, owns 8 racetracks around the country. So, you know those guys well. Jerry Gappins, who's the present general manager, used to be down at Charlotte Motor Speedway for years and had a PR and marketing down there.
I've done some work with your
love those guys.
competitors. ISC.
Well, you don't have to tell me that part. But what we do is the track is actually active about 200 days out of the year. We do everything from concerts
Is that
to
right?
Yeah, absolutely. My
People don't
dad
realize
used to
that.
ask. Yeah, my dad used to say, "Well, kid, what do you do the other 362 days out of the year?" Dad, seriously. But
Wow.
for us, we actually have. I'll tell you something kind of cool. Is we started doing drag racing. Now, we don't have a drag strip in a traditional sense. We actually race down pit road. So if you imagine pit road at a racetrack and basically starting at one end and racing halfway, which is a little under an eighth of a mile, and then they slow down on the other half. It's just basically traditional grassroots illegal street racing. So there's no tree, there's no handicapping. It's basically, you drag to brag, you win, you get back in line, you lose, you go home. And we do it every Friday night. We'll have all sorts of classes from, say, a pro stock, guys are riding nitrous and have to trail the car in. We toyed with the events guys and said, I wanted to do a soccer mom category this year where we would we would actually require to be a minivan. You had to have a car seat and 4 bags of groceries to be able to qualify for this particular race. And we had some fun with it. We do our Legend series. Our company actually manufactures a small 1/5 styles car that's the grassroots style of oval racing. Dale Jr., the Bush brothers all got started within Legend racing. So we do that during the summertime. Again, car shows, gun shows, RV shows, concerts, festivals, weddings, bar mitzvahs. We've had it all out there. So it's the largest sporting venue in the state. And when on race weekend, we actually become the 4th largest city in Georgia.
Is that right? That's a great fact.
Absolutely.
The 4th largest city in Georgia. I love that. That's fantastic. Oh, wow. All right, guys, we got about 6 more minutes. Charles, I'm going to throw you under the bus here, man. You haven't said anything. You're producing the show. What question do you have?
Been throwing out tweets this whole time.
I know. I know. We usually have a guy that tweets like crazy, and he's stuck at a Miami airport with Hurricane, what is it, Isaac? Yeah, he's about to. I wanted him to do a Google Hangout. I'm like, dude, come on, man. Are you that scared? He's like, I can't get any internet right now.
Come back to me in a few minutes. I'll have one for you.
Okay, think of one. Come on now. Brad, what do you there's so much going on in social media. How do you keep up? I mean, I keep up with X amount of people that follow me, but you guys have a massive audience. How do you keep up with it? What is your main source there? And by the way, I went to go wake up my kid that was 7. I've got a little NASCAR car from Troy Aikman when he first started in NASCAR.
Oh.
I tried to find it, but he was asleep, so I was going to bring that. So my point to that is I want some props. If you guys got any props that you want to share in a minute, go ahead. But the original question is, how do you keep up, Brad?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the biggest assets to us is when Facebook redid their whole setup, when they add timeline for fan pages and add notifications. That has been huge for us because it really allows us to keep up more as far as notifications of what they're actually saying from the Facebook standpoint. Before that, we relied on the hyper alerts, which was an email digest, which helped a good bit too.
Okay.
But the notifications has been huge as far as letting us know because, sometimes if, you can make a post and then, used to, it will be hard to tell unless you really went through it manually. It would be hard to tell if someone made a post on something you posted 2 weeks ago. So now you can easily see the full interactions right more in front of you, and which is really critical for us being close to the event because, I said before, you're going to have someone come out and just ask a random question like, hey, what time the gates open on this day? Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been just staying on top of, we'll obviously closely eyeball mentions of our Twitter account. We'll I will multiple times a day do searches on the analytics, seeing other mentions of us on Twitter especially, and seeing if anybody, even if they're not directly contacting us, if they're have something where they're wondering about how much tickets are or how to get tickets, we can basically reach out to them from that standpoint.
That's incredible to me right there, because I deal with some of the big, Budweiser's a client of mine, Michael's Stores, which y'all may not know, but it's the largest crafting store in the U.S., Verizon, and they always tell me the same thing, that marketing has changed, and the biggest thing, and I am like blown away by this, and you just said it right now, it's really become one-to-one marketing. The mass marketing and pushing it out to a large audience is great and all, but the one-to-one marketing is crucial. How important do you think that is, Greg, for sales and marketing, and why has it shifted that quickly that it's gone from this mass to one-to-one?
I think it's gone. The reason it shifted because everyone has a voice. Everyone via Twitter, social media, can have an equal voice to anyone else. It used to be who could buy a spot on national television or who could buy a national. Right now, if what you say or communicate is relevant, no matter who you are or how small you are, it can be just as impactful. It can even start a movement. You think about the guy who was imprisoned in Egypt, who tweeted something. Well, even then, was it 5 or 6 years ago when Twitter was just starting, and he talked about him being taken to jail. How from that moment, just how his message to 144 people created such this national stir. And it really is. It's also something that's a weather vane. It's very mercurial. It can go against you as fast as it can go for you. So you have to have someone who will monitor it all the time. And again, back to the sense of community, and that is you need to think of yourself as one of your customers. When you start to set yourself away from that or apart from that or above that, you're destined for trouble.
Awesome. About 5 more minutes, guys. You guys have been really gracious with your time. We'll try and wrap this up pretty quickly here. Charles, one more question. Zach will be after that, and then I'll follow up with a final up. Go, Charles.
Yeah, what do you think is the possibilities using Google Hangouts now, or other forms as well? What do you think the possibilities are of getting the guys in there, and for each race team having their own video crew to run in and videotape the pit, and be right there and in people's face, so people can join and be right there one-on-one with those racers as they're going through, as opposed to watching only on television?
Well, Charles, it actually. Perhaps tangential to that is the fact that with the NASCAR media group guys, there actually is a lot of that going on. There is a device called the Fan Vision, where actually you can see all the telemetry, you can hear the communication with the drivers. You can actually see the in-car cameras. So driver may have 3 or 4 in-car cameras while they're driving around and see what he's doing. You can see his positions on the wheel. You can hear him talking openly to his crew chief. Imagine being able to hear what the coach is saying to his quarterback all the time and what play he's going to call.
Incredible.
Yeah, and we do that. I usually when I have a fan come to the racetrack for the first time, I tell them you have to get a fan view, because you can watch the regular broadcast, you can see what's going on in front of you, and then you can also pick a favorite driver and listen to communication. It used to be guys like Rusty Wallace. Rusty used to swear like a sailor, and it just listening to that alone was entertaining. The guys now know there's repercussions for communication that's probably not appropriate, but you can hear them talk about, hey, the guy bumped me, or the spotter made a bad call, or here's a situation I've got with my tire. So you can hear the storylines developing. So with our partner Sprint, it's been a really nice overlay to the fan experience. In terms of like the Google Hangouts, as this thing becomes even more popular, I think it has a place and merit. The NASCAR media guys are pretty savvy, and I think they'll start to see this as a way to connect the fans to their favorite drivers or top.
I think that would be really cool. Now, obviously, the driver's too busy and it's too loud, but even just having some guy that's in the pit crew right in there while it's coming in, the Hangout folks can be watching it and listening, and they could ask the reporter, while, hey, what's going on now? Hey, what's going on? Yeah, they could be right there. They won't be able to interact, but it'll be a pretty cool system. Zach, what do you got?
Now, how do you guys go about measuring your success on social media? I know there's sites out there like Clout and all, but how do you guys measure your success?
Well, a couple of ways. One is obviously the traditional numbers of growth. We all look at that, how we stack up against others. That's one. In terms of success, it is how well we are building a sense of community. I'd rather see us make 5 or 6 posts on Facebook, and the traction on each of those, or the engagement or discussion, is way more robust than if Brad, say, puts 25 posts in a day and nothing happens to him. We also look at unique offers. We always try to make we want our social media followers to have a sense of privilege, and that is we try to mandate that any press release that goes out, any communication that's going to go out to the general fan populace, our social media followers have first access to it. That we'll tell them. It may be an hour, it may be 5 minutes, but we can always say we told them first. There'll be exclusives there. To your point about how we measure success, if we overlay that with a sponsor component where it's a call to action for a sponsor, those metrics are readily available. How many people bought this? How many people went to go visit this? How many people visited this website?
That's great.
If it's a ticket offer, we can see those metrics right away. So there's always some component of a call to action, and then how was that call to action received?
Well, guys, y'all were awesome tonight. Greg, this was your first Google Hangout. First, I want to say I appreciate it. What did you think of it? I know it was probably you were a little like hesitant, not hesitant, that's maybe a bad word, but you were like, what am I doing here? What did you think of the experience? How did you like it?
I tell you, it's a really neat forum to be able to communicate, and very impromptu, very informal. But that's the dialogue that people want. Brad and I are probably going to sit down next week and talk about how we can use this very tool to start doing some of our own.
I'll tell you how you're going to use it. You're going to contact Charles, although Charles is going to be very upset with me, saying that we're going to offer our time, that we'll do some shows for y'all. No, I'm serious. I'm not joking. We'll do some shows for y'all during the week. We could probably do 2 or 3. Charles, can we? Oh, God, he's not happy.
He's biting his fingernail. I don't know.
Charles, we're doing a damn show for these guys. So we'll do a show for y'all. We'll do 2. We could do 2 next week. You tell us when, like a media day, and when you have a lot of drivers coming through. And this is kind of an example of what Fox LA does. So they have a reporter on the side. So when the big, like Ice Cube was on our show. So when Ice Cube got off the big set of the #2 TV station, hey, Ice Cube, come on to Google Hangout real quick just for 2 minutes. They brought him over. So when y'all have a busy traction day, let us know. Charles and I will produce it for y'all at no cost. Just send us a few Cokes from your sponsor and also a Sprint card. What other sponsor do you have? We'll mention them a few times. But anyway, after they do the media session, Brad, you bring them onto the Google Hangout, and we'll produce it for you guys. How about that? Is that a deal?
Sure.
I think it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you guys brainstorm. I want to experiment with it, and we'll do that. I think it's a great idea. Charles, are you in?
I'm in, and yeah, let's do that. Absolutely.
Because we honestly, hey, we've been doing this since November. We've done some wacky, cruel stuff,
yeah, we've had an Olympic.
But we haven't tried this, and I want y'all to be the guinea pigs. Okay?
That'd be cool. Let's do that. We'll figure something out real quick.
Awesome, everybody. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Really appreciate our guest, Greg Walter, Brad Harrison. Way to bring him on. Thank you very much.
No problem.
And guys, good luck this week.
Thank you.
I expect you guys sleeping tonight in the infield. If you're not, you better get out there tomorrow night. Maybe we'll do a Google
webcast from the infield.
Dude,
there you go.
You know what? Forget the drivers. You know what? I backtrack. Forget the drivers. Let's do a Google Hangout one night with some fans. Take a laptop in the infield. That would be awesome. Everybody,
Brad, you know what you're
us.
doing this weekend.
I know. Everybody, have a good show. Thank you.
Thanks guys.
Take care.
See you later.
Bye-bye.